Hi, my name is Parky. I earned my PhD in 2024 in clinical psychology, and I'm actually a licensed psychologist in the state of California, even though I technically live in Ontario right now. But anyway, I know a little bit about mental health, and I'd love to share that with you today. One of my patients used to say that her anxiety was kind of like an overprotected friend. It would be constantly telling her to do something or to not do something, to be able to protect her and keep her from harm's way. But she found this experience very annoying because even for the smallest thing, her anxiety friend would be basically knocking on her doors. And if you're anything like my patient and you also struggle a little bit with anxiety, you probably also don't have the best relationship with your anxiety and kind of find it annoying and distressing when those anxiety symptoms or those anxiety catastrophic thoughts tend to creep up. And as we'll talk about, the way that we respond or react to our anxiety thoughts and our anxiety symptoms can actually lead to additional suffering. So we're anxious, which is already kind of painful, but our reaction or response to that initial symptom of anxiety can actually elongate or maintain or exacerbate our symptoms of anxiety even further. So in this video, I'm going to talk about how we can cultivate a more healthy relationship with anxiety, find out where it serves us and where it doesn't really serve us and actually seeks to hinder us so that we can really allow for anxiety to support us rather than having it dominate or overwhelm our life. So Carl Jung once said, what we resist persists, and not only persists, but actually grows stronger. And the same thing can happen with our anxiety when we try to resist anxiety, when we say, hey, I really hate these feelings of anxiety. I hate these tension in my neck and shoulders. I hate this butterfly in my stomach. I actually, and you actually will feel worse. Like when we try to push away physical sensations, they tend to rebound at twice the power. I think of it kind of like we're trapped in quicksand, and the more that we resist and struggle, the faster we start sinking into the sand. Whereas if we are able to sit with the experience of being in the quicksand or in the anxiety, it actually has a lot less power over us. So therefore, one way that we're able to change our relationship with anxiety is to change our reaction to the symptoms of anxiety to begin with. So instead of resisting the symptom of anxiety, which will happen to everybody, it's a naturally occurring process. If we're able to allow the experience to be just as it is, kind of that sort of mindfulness-based principle, we can avoid turning this pain of anxiety and stop it from turning into suffering and prolonged anxiety. And one way that we can change our relationship or response with the anxiety is to recognize that anxiety is not life-threatening or dangerous. So this is particularly important for people who struggle with panic attacks or panic disorders because they worry that the symptoms of anxiety is a sign of something much more dangerous and insidious. Like, what if it's a heart attack? Or what if I'm actually dying or I'm losing control? What if I go crazy and this is kind of gonna be my state of mind forever? So all those things increase our anxiety and actually becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because if we have catastrophic thoughts like, I'm gonna have a heart attack, I'm gonna have a panic attack, then our anxiety increases even more, which then kind of goes that merry-go-round and turns into a full-blown panic attack. So therefore, it's important to recognize that anxiety is not life-threatening, it's not dangerous, and actually it's a signal meant to protect us. It actually serves a function to identify some sign in the environment that could be a threat, and our anxiety is saying, hey, like you should probably watch out for that. So recognizing that inherently everybody has anxiety, and the reason why we have anxiety is that it's almost like a survival instinct. It tells us what could be dangerous in the environment. It could be a bear, or some threat to our social status because we're at a party, we don't know what to say. So anxiety inherently at sort of moderate levels actually is something that is helpful and tells us what there could be a danger or threat in the environment. So when you do notice the anxiety, there's a couple of ways that you can kind of really work with it. One is to work with the sensations of anxiety itself. The first is to be able to kind of almost sit with the anxiety and say, oh, I'm noticing I'm feeling anxious right now, and being able to almost compassionately attend to the physical symptom instead of like pushing it away, saying, oh gosh, this is so distressing. Is there a way for us to attend to it? Maybe even in this moment to kind of say, what am I noticing? Maybe I'm noticing my breath is a lot more shaky, or my chest feels really tight, or there's butterflies in my stomach, and see what it feels like to just be with them. And then alongside sitting with this experience of anxiety, one thing you can do with your anxiety is to actually check the facts. And how checking the fact works is basically saying, does my anxiety make sense in the context of this current situation? So there's a couple ways that this can go. So first of all, it could be that the anxiety perfectly matches the situation. Maybe I have a presentation due in a couple days and I haven't even started. And my anxiety about not doing well on this particular presentation makes perfect sense. So in this particular situation, I would actually go into a problem solving mode because my anxiety actually fit the facts of the situation. I have a presentation due in a couple of days. I haven't started, so I should probably get on that pronto. So in this case, I would say, okay, I do feel anxious, and the reason why I feel anxious makes perfect sense. So I need to get started with my particular project and get something done, maybe break up the steps and then figure out what are the first thing I should do, the second thing I should do, and make sure that I do a good job for my presentation because my anxiety does fit the facts and it would be important for me to do well on this assignment for various reasons. And another situation where the anxiety might fit the facts might be if you're walking down the street and you see a bear arrive and you're like, oh my gosh, like I should probably listen to my anxiety and either run away or, lie down, whatever the rules are for the different types of bears. And I should probably do that because my anxiety fit the facts of that particular situation. And there are going to be some situations where your anxiety doesn't fit the facts. So let's say you've been working at your new job for about 6 months now, and you're still constantly worried about making a mistake in your email. So you're like checking it 100 times, or you're constantly worried about getting negative feedback, even though your bosses say you're doing an awesome job. In this case, you're not going to want to listen to what the anxiety is saying, which is to over prepare or to over check. Like in this case, you would actually want to do opposite to what the anxiety is saying and actually say, hey, you know what? Like my anxiety makes sense. I'm still starting this new job, but it doesn't make so much sense that I should be checking my email 50 times before I send it, or to be constantly worried about not doing well enough, even though it doesn't fit the facts of the situation, and my bosses think I'm doing a pretty darn good job. So one thing that you can do in these situations is actually to just thank your anxiety for being here and say, hey, anxiety, thanks for being here. Like, I get that you're a little bit worried about the situation, but it's okay. Like, I've checked the facts of the situation. I think I'm going to do all right. So you can head on out for now. And sometimes we can think of our anxiety as almost like a little beast. And the behaviors and actions of what we do either feed the beast or starve it and make it a little bit weaker. And the way that I think about how anxiety is maintained is through avoidance. So when we avoid, we basically feed the anxiety because you're basically saying, hey, anxiety, I think you're right. So I should probably get away from this danger. And then that can sort of confirms for the anxiety that I'm doing the right thing. I'm making sure that this person is safe. But in a lot of different situations, when we avoid, especially when it doesn't fit the facts, like maybe you're really worried about a social situation or talking to people that you're constantly worried that they're going to hate you or be really rude to you or mean to you. If you were to try to talk to them, that's going to continually feed the anxiety and say, I should be really afraid of social situation because something bad could happen. So in this case, by avoiding, so we're not avoiding the situation and we're facing it instead, we kind of starve the beast. We say, anxiety, I don't think you're right here. I'm going to test it out and try it out anyway. And oh, look, the situation was actually pretty good. Like I had a pretty good conversation with the person, nothing terrible happened. And that weakens the power that anxiety has over you. And just as experimenting with life starves the anxiety, it can actually feed you in the process because it's going to continually make you more resilient to showcase that you can handle uncertainty, you can handle the sort of nuances of life, and even when crap happens, that you can deal with the circumstances and the consequences. Because as you continue to do cool stuff, you're going to be able to showcase to yourself that you are a resilient person and you can handle life stress. So I hope this video was helpful for you to get out of that sort of tug of war that you have with your anxiety and find a little bit more of its place in your life as sort of a friend who tries to keep you safe while also you being able to provide a little bit more autonomy and resilience to make sure that your anxiety never gets to the point where it's starting to control every aspect of your life. And if you're interested in learning more, I'll put up a video talking about my top tips as a therapist slash psychologist and the patients that I work with and the strategies that have been most helpful for them. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.